All right, and to Fairhaven, Massachusetts. Good morning, Dawn.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Surely.
Sorry, I'm a little emotional about this. I absolutely am against the PTC credits, and I'll tell you why. The human element is not being addressed here. We have two industrial-sized turbines less than 800 feet from neighborhoods. People are sick. I have friends that I've met while I've been fighting these, and they're not in my backyard. I have friends that have not suffered from post-traumatic stress syndrome for years, and since these have been in their backyard, he's now attempted suicide. I have another woman that has attempted suicide because she can't live with this anymore. I know people that have abandoned their homes. So the problem with these is it gives the wind industry carte blanche and Deval Patrick carte blanche to site these things anywhere they want to. We don't have the proper siting for these. I believe there is a place for wind, but it's not in neighborhoods. People are getting sick, and it's killing wildlife, and nobody seems to care anything about this.
All right, thanks for your call, Denise. That's a very, very emotional kind of statement. These wind turbines placed certainly in some neighborhoods that are creating problems.
Well, I really feel a great deal of sympathy for this woman, but I think what I would have to say is that the wind industry takes pride in very carefully siting and studying where we put our wind turbines. We've had tremendous technology advances to place turbines in areas that avoid any kind of wildlife impacts. And in fact, a wind turbine in wind farms in general have less impact on bird communities than just having a building or having, your neighborhood cat. So it's really something that I think that obviously this lady has a real issue with a particular wind farm. I'm not sure which one she's talking about, but I think one of the things you have to remember is that I think this industry has had a tremendous ethic about where you place wind farms and how you do it. There's been a tremendous amount of studies in Massachusetts. They recently did a study to talk about the impact of wind turbines and found that it did not have a health impact. So there's plenty of evidence that demonstrates that the impact is minimal. And one of the positive things you have to realize is that because of wind being added, it avoids tremendous other health impacts would be.
Coral Davenport, what have we heard from individuals and neighborhoods and issues about human impact, issues about wildlife, issues about, Dawn goes so far as to say post-traumatic stress syndrome?
One of the biggest issues when it comes to wind energy and renewable energy in general, I talked earlier about, it's very popular in these windswept Midwestern rural states, Iowa, Kansas.
Where there's lots of land.
Lots and lots of land. But one of the biggest and most difficult political issues about wind energy is if you start citing these wind producers there, you also need to cite a lot of transmission. Typically, the way that a lot of big, major power lines, typically the way that you would build an electricity generator, you would build a coal or gas plant next to a population center. You'd have a city, you'd put the coal or gas plant next to it, put a wire down, there you go. If you've got these huge wind farms kind of in the middle of nowhere, then you need to put down a lot of transmission to get that electricity to population centers. And this has been a major political issue in terms of how do we how do you move that electricity? How do you develop this as an electricity source? There's been a debate about should the federal government go in and do eminent domain, seizing land, seizing property, and putting in these major transmission lines. Obviously, that's the kind of thing that's going to get communities very upset. So as this new source of electricity and this new source of power continues to grow and develop, there are a lot more fights along the way.
Not just over tax credits. Daniel Simmons.
One of the important things to remember here is that there are impacts from wind, just like there are impacts from any other source of energy, and it's important to consider those impacts and figure out how we can minimize them in every whether it's wind, whether it's hydraulic fracturing in natural gas. People do see when there is change, people. We do have new impacts, and it's important to examine those impacts and see what we can do to minimize them going forward.
Dawn, before you hang up, let me ask you exactly where the wind turbine you're talking about is located.
We have 2 industrial-sized wind turbines in Fairhaven, Massachusetts. The other people in Falmouth, Massachusetts, have the wind turbines that we were supposed to get in 2007, and we fought. We are just now, they've just gone online, we are just now feeling the impacts. And I have to go back to the point that they say the wind industry does all these studies. The problem is the study that was done in Massachusetts did not take into account infrasound. They completely ignore infrasound. And a lot of the problems that are happening in these homes are due to infrasound. So you can't say that the study, we did the sound study and we did an audible study and we don't think it's going to bother people. Well, you have to look at the whole picture.
All right. Denise Botte.
Well, the state government in Massachusetts did the analysis and did the study, and so I have to trust that they were taking into consideration what all the areas and all the issues that impact sound and impact communities. So I can't really answer on the specifics of the study on infrasound. I'm not sure what it is. So I would have to depend on what the state of Massachusetts came up with.
Coral, how are these studies conducted before these wind turbines are placed?
There actually are a great deal of studies being done. I know, they've been studying for years and years and years as they've tried to build wind turbines off the coast of Massachusetts. This is something that there's been a big political debate about. So,
and Ted Kennedy was very involved in that.
He was very strongly opposed to the wind turbines off the coast. I know in that particular case, they did a multi-year study on birds, how it affects birds and wildlife. They'll do visual studies to see just what it will look like, how it will affect the tides, how it will affect fishing, how it affects, the impact that it has on fishing and commerce. There are many, many, many levels of studies conducted at the state and local and EPA level. What
is this infrasound?
I have never heard of that. I don't even know what that is.
And I gather somebody is going to inform us precisely what that is. I wonder whether there's an internal sound that occurs within a home if a turbine is nearby. Let's